a time of harmony. Long ago, before fear tainted the hearts of men, the world was a place of balance. The sun bathed the land in golden light, and the rivers ran clear, untainted by war or greed. In those days, humans and serpents lived together as allies, not enemies. The serpents were no ordinary creatures. They were ancient beings blessed with the gift of transformation, shifting effortlessly between their true forms and that of humans. They shared their wisdom with mankind, teaching them the secrets of the earth, the ways of the stars, and the hidden power of nature. In return, the humans shared their lands, their homes, and their trust. It was a time of unity, a time when the two species lived side by side. The serpents attended human celebrations, and humans sought counsel from the serpents, who were known as the keepers of knowledge. But all that changed when fear took root in the hearts of men. The sorcerer's lies. Deep within the shadows of the mountains, an ambitious sorcerer named Jabari longed for power. He envied the serpents' wisdom, their immortality, and their ability to move between worlds. But above all, he resented the bond between humans and serpents. He saw their unity as a threat, for as long as humans learned from the serpents, they could not be controlled. If humans trusted the serpents, they would not seek his dark magic. So Jabari devised a plan. One night, he visited the king of the largest human tribe, whispering poisonous words into his ears. "The serpents are not your allies," he said. "They are deceivers. Their wisdom is not a gift, it is a trap. They wait, watching, learning your weaknesses. And when you are vulnerable, they will strike. They will take your land, your people, your very souls. You must stop them before it is too late." At first, the king refused to believe him. But Jabari was cunning. He created illusions, conjuring false visions of serpents attacking human children, of villages set ablaze by their magic. Fear spread like wildfire. Soon, whispers became shouts, and trust turned into suspicion. The humans, who once welcomed the serpents into their homes, now locked their doors at night. The children, who once played with the serpent king, were warned never to speak to them again. And then, the first betrayal came. The night of the broken pact. A group of warriors, driven by fear, ambushed the serpent village at dusk. They carried torches and spears, convinced that if they did not strike first, the serpents would destroy them all. The serpents did not fight back. They did not raise their weapons, for they had always believed in peace. But peace did not save them. Many were slaughtered. Their homes burned. The survivors fled deep into the heart of the forest, swearing never to trust humans again. And from that night on, the world changed. The once proud serpents, who had walked freely among humans, hid themselves away. Over time, their ability to transform faded, until only a few of the eldest could remember how. By the time generations passed, their existence had become nothing more than a whispered legend, a tale told to children by the fireside. Except, it was not just a story. The last of a kind. Deep within the heart of the forbidden forest, hidden from human eyes, there lived a serpent unlike any other. Her name was Nola. Born with scales of emerald and eyes that shimmered like the stars, she carried within her a power long thought to be lost. Unlike the others of her kind, she could still transform, a rare gift passed down from the elders. But she had been warned never to use it. Humans are dangerous, her mother had told her. They will never understand us. They betrayed us once, and they will do it again. Yet, Nola was different. Unlike the others, who lived in fear, she was curious. She longed to see the world beyond the trees, to hear the voices of humans not filled with hatred, but laughter. She wondered if, perhaps, not all humans were the same. And far beyond the forest, in a village that had long forgotten the old ways, there was a young hunter who would soon change her fate. The hunter's journey. In the village of Umbesa, a young hunter named Jabari, had always been different from the others. He did not fear the forest like the elders did. He did not believe the stories of cursed serpents that parents told their children to keep them from wandering too far. Jabari believed there was more to the world than fear and superstition. And so, when the village elders warned him never to enter the forbidden forest, he did exactly that. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jabari set out on a hunting expedition. A rare white stag had been spotted near the forest edge, and he was determined to prove his skill by catching it. But fate had other plans. As he tracked the stag deeper into the trees, the air grew still. The sounds of the forest faded, replaced by an eerie silence. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting like unseen eyes watching him. Then, snap! The ground beneath him vanished. Jabari tumbled into a deep pit, crashing hard against the earth. The air was knocked from his lungs as he struggled to sit up, realizing he had fallen into a hunter's trap. He was not alone. A pair of golden eyes gleamed in the darkness above him. Silent. Unblinking. Watching. Something, or someone, was there. Jabari felt his heart pound as the figure moved closer, stepping into the moonlight. A woman. She was unlike any he had ever seen. Her dark skin glowed in the dim light, her long hair cascading like a river of ink. Her movements were fluid, almost otherworldly. But it was her eyes that caught him the most. They were not human. They shimmered like liquid gold, filled with something ancient, something powerful. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, in a voice as smooth as silk, she said, "You should not be here, hunter." Jabari swallowed hard, his mind racing. He had spent his whole life not believing in the legends. But now, as he looked into the eyes of the woman standing before him, he realized. He had just met one. The hunt begins. The sun hung low in the sky as Jabari moved through the dense undergrowth of the forbidden forest. Each step was slow, deliberate, his trained hunter's instincts guiding him deeper into unknown territory. He had been tracking an injured white stag, a rare creature said to be a symbol of fortune. If he could capture it, his status in the village would be secured. Yet, as he followed the faint trail of hoofprints and blood, an unsettling feeling crept over him. The trees around him loomed taller, their twisted branches reaching like claws. The usual chorus of birds and insects had faded into an unnatural silence. Jabari tightened his grip on his spear, his breath steady but controlled. He had always dismissed the village elders' warnings about the cursed serpents that lived here, believing them to be nothing but old stories. But now, for the first time, he wasn't so sure. A deadly trap. Just as he crouched to inspect a fresh set of tracks, the ground beneath him gave way. Snap! Ropes tightened around his ankles, yanking him upward. Before he could react, he was suspended in the air, dangling upside down from a tree. His heart pounded as he struggled against the thick vines wrapped around his legs. A hunter's trap. But whose? Panic set in when he heard a low growl nearby. Jabari twisted his body to look. A leopard had emerged from the shadows. Its golden eyes gleamed with hunger, its muscles coiled, ready to pounce. Jabari reached for the knife at his waist, but before he could pull it free, the leopard lunged. Then, something blurred past him. A shadow moved faster than the wind, and before Jabari could understand what had happened, the leopard let out a blood-curdling snarl and collapsed to the ground. A figure stood between him and the fallen beast. It was a woman. A stranger in the forest. Jabari's breath caught in his throat as the woman turned toward him. She was like no one he had ever seen. Her skin was deep, smooth, and unmarked, as though she had never known pain or injury. Her hair flowed in long, silken black waves, and her emerald green eyes shimmered unnaturally, reflecting the moonlight. She stood tall, poised like a predator, yet she did not raise a weapon. Jabari could only stare in shock. "Who are you?" he managed to say. The woman's piercing gaze locked onto his, and for a brief moment, Jabari felt as if she could see straight through him. "You do not belong here, hunter," she said, her voice smooth yet laced with something ancient, something untamed. Before he could respond, she reached up with inhuman speed, slicing through the ropes that bound him. Jabari crashed to the ground, his body aching from the impact. By the time he looked up again, she was gone. The vanishing phantom. Jabari sat there for a long moment, trying to catch his breath. The leopard was dead, its throat slashed cleanly. Yet, there was no blade in the woman's hands. Who was she? A lost wanderer? A spirit? Or something else? Jabari searched for any sign of her, but she had vanished like mist. The wind whispered through the trees, and for the first time in his life, Jabari felt small, as if the forest was alive, watching him. And the feeling did not fade, even after he made his way back to the village. An unshaken obsession. That night, Jabari sat by his fire, replaying the events in his mind. The woman's eyes, the way she moved, how she disappeared, none of it made sense. "Who is she?" he muttered. Sleep did not come easily. By dawn, he had made up his mind. He had to see her again. A silent watcher. For days, Jabari returned to the forest, always to the same place, hoping to catch another glimpse of her. He whispered into the trees, calling out to her. "I know you're there. Why did you save me? Are you watching me now?" But no one answered. Yet, he could feel it. A presence. An unseen pair of eyes always watching from the shadows. Nola's conflict. From the branches above, hidden within the thick canopy, Nola watched the hunter return again and again. Her heart wavered. She had saved him on instinct, something she had never done for a human before. She had broken the unwritten law of her kind, the one that had been passed down for generations. Never trust a human. And yet, this one was different. She had seen it in his eyes, the absence of hatred. Still, she could not be careless. If the others of her kind found out what she had done, there would be consequences. She should leave. She should disappear before he could learn her secret. And yet, she remained. Each day, she listened to his voice calling out. Each night, she watched from the shadows, curiosity and fear warring inside her. For the first time in her life, Nola found herself wanting to believe. The fateful meeting. One evening, as the sun set over the treetops, Jabari leaned against a fallen log, sighing in frustration. "I know you're there," he said aloud, more to himself than anything. "I just don't understand why you won't talk to me." The wind rustled through the trees. Jabari shook his head, about to turn back. When a voice finally answered. "You ask too many questions, hunter." Jabari froze. Slowly, he turned around. And there she was. Standing at the edge of the clearing, her emerald eyes glowing under the fading sunlight. For the first time, she did not vanish. For the first time, they were truly face to face, the first conversations. For the first time since their fateful meeting, Nola did not disappear. Jabari stood frozen, unsure whether to step forward or stay still. His mind screamed at him to speak, to ask the 1,000 questions that raced through his thoughts. But it was Nola who spoke first. "You are persistent, hunter," she said, her voice smooth like flowing water. "Why do you keep returning?" Jabari hesitated before answering. "I needed to know if you were real, or just a ghost of the forest." Nola tilted her head slightly, a flicker of amusement in her emerald eyes. "And now that you see me, do I seem like a ghost?" Jabari studied her. She was real. And yet, something about her presence still felt otherworldly. "No," he admitted. but you're not like anyone I've ever met." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the distant sounds of the forest. Then, to his surprise, Nola sat down on a large, moss-covered rock, crossing her legs elegantly. "If I allow you to stay, will you listen more than you speak?" she asked. Jabari nodded. And so, it began. Wisdom of the forest. Over the next few days, Nola allowed Jabari to see her again, but only on her terms. At first, their meetings were brief. She would appear only when she chose to and vanish just as quickly. But slowly, she began to linger longer. She showed him things about the forest that no hunter in his village had ever known. "The trees speak," she told him one day as they walked through the thick foliage. "Not in words, but in whispers. If you listen, they will guide you." Jabari furrowed his brows. "Trees don't talk." Nola simply smiled and placed her hand on the bark of an ancient tree. The wind shifted, and the leaves rustled, though no breeze had touched them. Jabari felt a chill. Another time, she taught him how to track animals not by their footprints, but by the way the plants reacted to their passing. "The ground tells a story," she explained, crouching beside a patch of flattened grass. "A deer walked through here, see how the blades bend, still fresh." It was not long ago. Jabari marveled at her knowledge. And yet, she never carried a bow. Never held a spear. "Do you not hunt?" he asked one evening as they sat beneath a great baobab tree. Nola's gaze darkened. "I do not need to." Something about the way she said it made Jabari decide not to ask further. A warning in the wind. Despite their growing conversations, one thing never changed: Nola's secrecy about herself. She never spoke of her family. Never told him where she lived. One night, as they sat by a quiet riverbank, Jabari finally asked, "Why do you always vanish? Where do you go?" Nola's expression grew unreadable. "There are places in this world humans should not follow." "You think I would betray you?" he asked. She turned to him, her emerald eyes serious. "Not all betrayals are done with a blade, Jabari. Sometimes, a secret spoken is more dangerous than an enemy's spear." Jabari didn't understand, not fully, but he heard the warning in her tone. "If you wish to keep coming here," she continued, "you must never tell anyone about me." The wind whispered through the trees as if carrying her words into the night. Jabari met her gaze. And he swore to keep her secret. The river's truth. One evening, the moon hung low over the river, turning the waters into a silver mirror. Jabari and Nola sat on the smooth stones of the riverbank, their conversation easier now, more familiar. "You are different from the others in your village," Nola said, watching the water ripple. "They fear what they do not understand. But you are curious." Jabari chuckled. "Curiosity has gotten me into trouble before." Nola smiled faintly but did not look away from the water. Sometimes, curiosity uncovers truths better left hidden. Jabari was about to respond when he saw it. Her reflection. For a moment, as her fingers brushed the water, her skin shimmered. Not like human skin. Like scales. The reflection showed something not entirely human, something ancient. Jabari's breath caught in his throat. Nola pulled her hand away quickly, but it was too late. She froze, realizing what he had seen. Silence. The moment stretched between them, thick and heavy. Jabari said nothing. But deep inside, he knew. The village stories, the legends. They weren't just myths. They were true. Unanswered questions. That night, Jabari returned to his village, but sleep would not come. His mind raced with questions he could not ask aloud. Was Nola one of them? The cursed serpent. If she was, why had she saved him? Why did she not attack? And why, despite everything, did he not fear her? Jabari clenched his fist. He knew one thing for certain. Tomorrow, he would go back. And this time, he would find the answers. The arrival of Okoye. The village of Ombesa had many warriors, but none were as feared or respected as Okoye. He was a man of power, a hunter of great skill, and a leader who commanded absolute loyalty from his men. With a body built like stone and a reputation that sent enemies fleeing, he was a man who took what he wanted. And now, he wanted her. For weeks, whispers had spread through the village of Jabari's strange disappearances into the forbidden forest. At first, no one paid attention. But Okoye watched. Jabari's eyes had changed. There was a new fire in them, a longing, an obsession. And then, one night at the village gathering, Okoye heard the name. Nola. The way Jabari spoke it, the way his lips formed her name, it was enough for Okoye to understand. Jabari had found something in the forest. Something he wanted for himself. A princess of the forest. Okoye had traveled to many villages, seen many beauties. He had taken wives from powerful families, but never had he heard of a woman with emerald green eyes. No village bore such a daughter. No tribe claimed such a woman. Could she be a lost princess? It was the only answer that made sense. A hidden beauty, untouched by war, waiting to be claimed. And Okoye would be the one to claim her. But first, he had to find her. Tracking Jabari. For days, Okoye and his most loyal men followed Jabari in secret. They watched from the shadows as he disappeared into the trees. They listened to the whispers of villagers who wondered about his absence. And one night, when Jabari slipped away under the moonlight, Okoye followed. The unveiling. The forbidden forest was alive with sounds, crickets, rustling leaves, the distant hoot of an owl. Okoye and his men moved silently, their eyes sharp, their steps careful. They saw Jabari enter a small clearing by the river, where a woman awaited him. And then, they saw her. Okoye's breath caught in his throat. Even from a distance, Nola was unlike anything he had ever seen. Her dark skin glowed in the moonlight, her emerald eyes gleamed like a predator's, and her movements were too fluid, too unnatural. She was not a lost princess. She was something else. Something not human. Okoye clenched his fist. He should have left then, should have turned away, but he stayed. And then, it happened. The transformation. Jabari and Nola sat by the riverbank, their voices too soft for Okoye to hear. But then, Nola reached into the water. And for a brief moment, her skin shimmered, scales rippling like liquid gold beneath her human form. Okoye's world shattered. A demon. A cursed serpent. The old legends were true. The fear that had once driven men to destroy the serpents long ago returned in an instant, burning in Okoye's chest like fire. He grabbed the spear at his side, ready to charge. But one of his men pulled him back. Not now, the man whispered. She is powerful. If we strike without preparation, she may destroy us all. Okoye hesitated. His body burned with fury, but his mind was sharp. The man was right. This was not a hunt. This was war. And Okoye did not fight battles he was not sure he could win. With a silent command, he signaled his men to retreat. But as he turned away, he made a vow. The village would know the truth. And the serpent woman, she would not live to see another moon. The rallying of the hunters. By the time Okoye returned to Ombesa, dawn was breaking. He strode into the village square, his chest heaving with fury, his voice booming like thunder. Gather, all of you. We are in danger. Villagers rushed from their huts, confused and alarmed. The serpents have returned, he declared. One of them walks among us, disguised as a woman. A demon with emerald eyes, hiding in the forbidden forest. Gasps filled the air. The legends. An old woman whispered. They were true. Okoye's eyes locked onto the village chief, a wise elder named Mweni. She is dangerous, Okoye continued. She has bewitched Jabari. She means to deceive us, just as her kind did long ago. We must capture her before she strikes first. The villagers murmured in fear. And then, one voice cut through the noise. You're wrong. The crowd turned as Jabari pushed his way through, his face furious and desperate. Nola is not our enemy, he said, standing before the people. She has done nothing to harm us. If you attack her, you will be repeating the same mistakes of the past. But Okoye laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. You have been bewitched, boy, he sneered. You cannot even see the danger before you. She has made you blind to the truth. Jabari's fist clenched. I see clearly, Okoye. I see that your fear makes you a coward. The village gasped at Jabari's words. Okoye's expression darkened, his grip on his spear tightening. You dare insult me? I dare speak the truth, Jabari shot back. You speak of legends, but I have seen Nola with my own eyes. She is not a monster. She is not our enemy. But fear had already poisoned the hearts of the villagers. She must be captured, someone shouted. Burn the forest, another cried. Okoye lifted his spear high. Tonight, we hunt. A roar of approval erupted from the warriors. Jabari's blood turned to ice. They were going to kill her. A desperate race. Jabari did not wait. The moment the warriors turned to prepare for the hunt, he ran. Faster than he had ever run before. Through the village gates. Through the fields. Through the dense trees of the forbidden forest. He had to reach Nola first. His legs burned, his breath came in ragged gasps, but he did not stop. Not until he reached the clearing by the river. She was there, standing beneath the rising sun, waiting for him. But the moment she saw the fear in his eyes, she knew. They are coming for you, Jabari gasped. You have to leave. Now. Nola's expression remained unreadable, but her eyes flickered with something close to sadness. So it has begun, she murmured. Jabari stepped forward, grabbing her hands. Please, he pleaded. You must run. But Nola simply stared into the forest, as if she could already hear them coming. Then, at last, she whispered. There is no running from fate, Jabari. And behind them, the war drums began to sound. No more running. Jabari stood before Nola, his breath heavy, his body trembling with urgency. They are coming, he pleaded, gripping her arms. You must run. There is still time. But Nola did not move. She simply stared at him, her emerald eyes calm, unshaken by the terror that gripped his heart. I have hidden long enough, she murmured. If humans still fear me, then let them face me with truth. Jabari shook his head. No, Nola. They won't listen. Okoye has poisoned them with lies. If they see your true form, they will call me a monster. She finished his sentence for him. Jabari looked at her, desperation in his gaze. Yes. She gave him a sad, knowing smile. Then let them. The hunters arrive. The sound of drums and footsteps thundered through the forest. Jabari turned, his heart sinking. They were here. Okoye led the charge, his warriors flanking him with spears and torches, their faces twisted in determination. Behind them, villagers followed, their expressions a mix of fear and anger. There she is, someone shouted. Jabari immediately stepped in front of Nola, shielding her with his own body. Stop this madness, he shouted. She has done nothing to harm us. Okoye sneered. She has deceived you, Jabari. You may be too blind to see it, but we are not. The warriors spread out, encircling them, blocking every escape. Jabari tightened his grip on his spear. "If you want her," he growled, "you'll have to go through me first." Okoye chuckled darkly. "That can be arranged." He gave a quick signal, and two warriors lunged at Jabari. Jabari dodged the first, swinging his spear to knock the second aside. He fought fiercely, but he was only one against many. Within moments, a warrior struck his leg, and he collapsed to the ground. "Nola, run," he gasped. But she did not. She stepped forward instead, standing before the villagers. "I am not your enemy," she said, her voice steady. "I do not wish to fight." Okoye laughed. "Then you will die." He raised his hand, and his men threw their spears. Nola closed her eyes. And in that moment, the earth trembled. The revelation. A golden light shimmered around Nola as she spread her arms. Before the villagers' horrified eyes, her human form melted away. Her smooth skin turned to shimmering emerald scales. Her legs fused into a long, coiling tail. Her fingers stretched into clawed hands. The serpent goddess had awoken. A gasp of terror rippled through the crowd. "She's a demon," a villager cried. "A cursed one," another shouted. "Monster." Nola's glowing golden eyes scanned the faces before her. She saw fear. Not understanding. Not reason. Only fear. Jabari struggled to his feet, reaching for her. "Nola, don't." But it was too late. A net of glowing blue light shot through the air. It wrapped around Nola's body, burning her scales as it tightened around her. She screamed in pain, collapsing to the ground. Jabari's eyes widened in horror. "No." He turned to see Okoye holding a small, enchanted vial. "A gift from the great shamans," Okoye said with a cruel smirk. "Made for creatures like her." Nola thrashed against the net, but the magic was too strong. Her strength drained rapidly, her transformation reversing against her will. Her tail shrunk back into legs, her fangs disappeared, and soon, she was human again, but too weak to move. Okoye stepped closer, looking down at her with triumph in his eyes. "You thought you could deceive us," he said coldly. "Now, you will pay the price." Jabari lunged forward, rage blinding him. But four warriors tackled him, forcing him to the ground. He struggled, kicking, shouting, reaching for Nola. "Let her go," he roared. "She is not what you think." But Okoye only smiled. He turned to the village chief, Mweni, who had watched everything in silence. "Great chief," Okoye said, "this creature has deceived us for too long. She must be executed before she brings ruin upon us." The villagers murmured in agreement. Jabari looked desperately at Mweni. He was the only one who could stop this. For a moment, the elder hesitated, staring at Nola's fragile, trembling form. But in the end, he sighed. "She will be executed at sunrise." A roar of approval swept through the village. Nola's eyes fluttered open, weak but aware. Jabari watched as a single tear slid down her cheek. And in that moment, his heart shattered. Captured. The warriors dragged Nola through the dirt, tying her hands and feet with enchanted rope. Jabari fought against his captors, but they held him firm. As Nola passed him, their eyes met. Her gaze held no anger. No blame. Only sadness. "Jabari," she whispered. He reached for her, but the warriors pulled him back. Jabari felt a rage unlike anything he had ever known. "You are making a mistake," he shouted to the villagers. "She is not our enemy." But no one listened. They carried Nola away, disappearing into the darkness. And as Jabari fell to his knees, gasping for breath, he made a vow. "I will not let them take you from me." The final night. That night, the village prepared for the execution. A great wooden stake was built in the center of the village, meant to burn Nola at dawn. She was locked in a cage, her wrists and ankles bound in enchanted chains. Outside, villagers whispered fearful prayers, terrified that if they did not kill her, she would curse them all. But deep in the forest, beneath the shadows of the great baobab trees, a lone figure watched the village from afar. His fists were clenched. His body tense. His heart burning with fury. Jabari had one night. One chance. He would not let them kill her. And by the time the sun rose, he would set her free. A desperate plea. The night was heavy with silence. The village, usually alive with the sound of crackling fires and distant laughter, was now nothing more than a shadowed battlefield of fear and uncertainty. Jabari stood before the village elders, his heart pounding in his chest. "You cannot do this," he pleaded, his voice raw with desperation. "She is not a monster. She has done nothing to harm us." Chief Moini sat in deep thought, his aged face lined with hesitation. "Jabari," he sighed, "you do not understand. The stories are wrong." Jabari interrupted. "You are punishing her for what happened centuries ago. For things she never did." Okoye, standing nearby with arms crossed, let out a low laugh. "You have been bewitched by her lies, hunter," he sneered. "Do you not see? She is a serpent, a deceiver. And tomorrow, we will rid ourselves of her forever." Jabari felt rage coil inside him. "She is not the deceiver, Okoye. You are." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Okoye's jaw tightened. "Enough of this foolishness. She dies at dawn." Jabari's hands balled into fists. His mind raced. He needed a way to stop this. But time was slipping away. The serpents return. Far beyond the village, deep within the forbidden forest, something stirred in the shadows. The elder serpents had awakened. For centuries, they had remained in hiding, watching as their kind faded into legend. They had vowed never to return to the world of men. But then, they felt it, the cry of one of their own, the pain of Nola, the last of their bloodline, facing death at the hands of humans. And so, for the first time in generations, the elder serpents moved. Their great forms slithered through the darkness, their eyes glowing like fire. And with them, came vengeance. The dawn of judgment. The first hints of morning light crept over the horizon as the villagers gathered in the central square. At the center of it all, Nola knelt before the execution stake, her hands bound in enchanted rope. Jabari forced his way through the crowd, his breath coming fast. "Stop this," he yelled. Okoye raised a hand to silence him. "Bring the torch," he commanded. A warrior stepped forward, holding a flame high. The moment had come. But before the fire could be set, Jabari stepped forward. "I love her." Silence. The entire village froze. Jabari's voice rang through the air, loud and clear, without hesitation. "I love her," he repeated, turning to the elders. "You say she is a monster, but she is more human than any of us. She saved me. She protected me. And I will not let you take her from me." Gasps rippled through the villagers. Mweni's eyes widened. "Jabari." But before he could speak, the earth trembled. A cold wind rushed through the village. And from the depth of the forbidden forest, the elder serpents emerged. The truth revealed. The villagers let out cries of terror as the massive, ancient serpents slithered into the square. Some tried to flee. Others clutched their weapons. And at the front, the largest of them all, a serpent with golden eyes like molten fire, rose tall, towering over them. "We have watched you for centuries," the great serpent spoke, his voice deep and commanding. "And now, at last, we have returned." The villagers shrunk back in fear. Chief Moini, though trembling, stepped forward. Why do you come here? The great serpent's eyes narrowed. To reveal what you have long forgotten. The air shimmered, and before the villagers' eyes, visions of the past began to appear. The truth of the betrayal. The lies of the jealous sorcerer. The innocence of the serpents. Gasps filled the crowd as the images flickered like flames before them. We were never your enemies, the elder serpent said. But you made us into monsters. And now, you seek to repeat the same mistake. The villagers stared at Nola, still bound, her emerald eyes filled with quiet sorrow. A heavy silence fell. And then, at last, Chief Mweni spoke. We were wrong. The old man's voice was filled with guilt, with understanding. We let our fear guide us, he admitted. But today, we must choose a different path. He turned to the warriors. Release her. The ropes fell away. Nola slowly stood, her gaze locking onto Jabari's. And for the first time in centuries, there was peace. The final betrayal. But peace did not come for Okoye. His hands shook with fury. No, he bellowed. She is a demon. You cannot trust her. No one moved. Okoye's grip tightened around the spear at his side. If no one else would do it, he would. With a furious roar, he lunged at Nola, his spear aimed for her heart. Jabari saw the attack a second too late. But he did not hesitate. He threw himself in front of her. The spear plunged into his chest. The word stopped. Nola. Jabari gasped as pain tore through his body. His knees buckled, his vision darkened. Nola caught him before he fell. No, she whispered, her hands trembling as she held him. Jabari, stay with me. But his breath was already fading. Her tears fell onto his skin, and as they touched him, they shimmered with golden light. And then, she made a choice. A sacrifice. With the last of her magic, she pressed her hands over his wound. A soft glow spread through his body. His heartbeat stuttered, then grew strong again. Jabari's eyes opened. He was alive. But as he looked at Nola, he saw something fade from her. Her power. Her magic. Her ability to transform. It was gone. She had given it up to save him. A new beginning. The villagers watched in stunned silence. They had feared her. They had tried to kill her. And yet, she had sacrificed her power to save one of them. When he turned to the people. Can any of you still call her a monster? No one spoke. Then, one by one, the villagers knelt before her, not in fear, but in respect. Jabari reached for Nola's hand, his fingers lacing through hers. You gave up everything for me, he whispered. She smiled softly. You were always worth more than my power. And in that moment, they were no longer human and serpent. They were just two souls bound together, stronger than any legend, any fear, any past. Jabari turned to the villagers. We will live together, he declared. No more division. No more war. No more fear. A new chapter had begun. And for the first time in history, humans and serpents stood together as one. The end.